Hello, I'm Bob Staples, and I'm very happy to assist with this presentation today. And we'll probably have some new people come in as we talk, so just appreciate your patience with that. As I go through the slides, I'll just maybe briefly pause at the end of one, see if there's a question then we could take care of. I will have to say this, as an eCore teacher myself, this is probably one of the top 5 managing things to do, and we want to make it clear so that you could do a good job with this particular task. You may have a question, and you may feel more comfortable to add it in the chat window, and that is fine. We do have a couple folks monitoring that, and if we need to get that question at the end. Also, I want to thank you for muting your talk button or muting your phone speaker or microphone so that we could have a clear understanding of what's being said. We will do a Q&A at the end, and like I said, we will use the chat window too as we go through this presentation. Okay, here we go. So Ingress, this slide is about what Ingress is, and just like your institution has a banner, there's a banner for USG, and that banner system is called Ingress. So we could communicate across the banner systems, and that's very important for our job. It allows this cross-registration to happen, and this is very, very important. So the major focus today is attendance verification. We'll come and do another presentation about final grades, and final grades uses Ingress as well. Also keep in mind, as we continue to work under the umbrella of eCampus, we're including eCore and eMajor. A note at the bottom, and this is important to just sort of keep in mind, is that attendance verification is due this coming Tuesday at 12 noon. Just like your institution has a date and a time, that's it for Ingress. And you don't have to have all your students have completed, you don't have to do this today. You could work on it today, you could start working on it, but you don't have to submit your final data until Monday at noon, so please keep that in mind. Okay, so again, eCore, in eCore, most of the professors have a mandatory quiz, mandatory attendance, and then work on the discussion board. And also, some may use the login attendance as a tool to measure student engagement. And me, myself, I use Quiz 1 for my college algebra class because I know students should be having that done, and I use that as a tool if I need it. So basically, eCore is the attendance quiz and the introduction. Now you notice down here at the bottom we have some information about eMajor. So if you're an eMajor teacher, faculty member, you could look at that and get what you need to there. So that's important. Okay, so we want to give you a step-by-step procedure. So you are given this task. This is due Tuesday at noon. And what do I do? Well, you go to your home page, and you'll see, as I've got pointed out over here, this is your link to the Ingress console. And you just click on that, and it should be very easy to find. And when you click on that, you'll have a screen that looks like this. So just like your home institution has software for a banner, this is the banner for USG. And it is it's pretty easy to follow. There's some important things that I want you to know. You don't have to know everything about this, but number one, you want to select your semester. So I've selected the semester here. And then there's a drop-down box, and you want to select your course there. Once you select your course, then you'll have a list of information below with your students, and we'll take a look at that in a moment. I'm having some feedback coming in my microphone. Is everybody hearing me okay? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so then I selected my semester, and I have spring 2017, and this particular course is a sociology course. But our focus right now is this attendance tab at the top. So we're going to click on that, and then we're going to see this page. So I want to take a minute and talk about this page, and then I'll take some questions at the end of this. All right. So here's a list of your students. We can call us, it's a roster of your students if you would, but we're going to verify our attendance. And here's something about their status, and here's an update date, and here's some LMS status here, and then your institution. So number one, students that are black and black typeface, these are the ones you want to work on. The ones that are red, if you notice I have a note right here, the ones that are red have been dropped, and there is some adjustment in the first week, just like there is in your institution, okay? So those students have been dropped, and then you may have a purple, and that would indicate the student has withdrawn. So bottom line, you do not have to worry about the red or the purple. You just need to focus on the black. Those are the students that you have in your class list. Okay. Now, probably the most important thing of this presentation is what are you going to select in that drop-down box. You only have two choices. You have present or absent. And after you do that for each student that you need to do it for, then you're basically done with attendance verification. I'll show you how to finalize it and submit it and all of that. But the major thing is to discern if they're present or absent. Now, I'm going to share with you some advice. What I do is I go to my class list, and I make a card out for each student. Then, of those students, I figure out who did the mandatory quiz, and that's easy to do because all you have to do is go to the grades and go under that mandatory quiz, and you know who did it and who didn't do it. So I mark the students that didn't, okay? And then what you could do is you go to your introductions, and if you haven't graded your introductions, which we don't grade the introductory post, okay? But you can go into your discussions and then select that particular discussion. And then what I would do is I would just use a little window over there to the right and alphabetize it from each student, last name A to Z. And you will know very easily if you have a little list, or I use cards, it doesn't matter, who did not do that discussion post. So, you know, that's important. Also, you can go into your class list and click over to the right side where it talks about last time logged in, and you'll have some additional information there about some students that may not have even logged in. They may be in your class list but didn't log in, so that will be another indication to you. Okay, so having said all of that, you're going to decide present or absent. You basically have three piles. The first pile is the students who have done all of that they need to do. Obviously, you're going to mark them present. So we're done with that. Then you have the students that they hardly did anything. I mean, they were not there. They didn't do the attendance quiz, and it's pretty clear that they're not getting into the class. So let's say you have 5 of those. You're going to mark them absent. And probably the most important thing of this presentation is what are you going to do with that middle group of students that have done some? Well, what I would do is just use your best judgment on that group. If you mark them present, you may have some folks in that group that will withdraw because they're behind already in the course, and you may have a few students that for whatever reason got their sort of act together and worked the class. But it is my opinion that among that middle group of students that you're not sure about, You really need to just do your best decision, make your best decision, and go with it. Now, if you mark them absent, let's say you mark them all absent, what probably is going to happen, one or two of those will contact you and say they'll have some kind of reason why they weren't involved in the class. And again, you really have to use your judgment. Now, there may be someone in the audience that's saying, can you give me something I can do to be able to assist me in discerning those two different groups? I got 4 students I'm trying to decide, and my best advice is this. I would contact them by email or phone, preferably by phone. And when I do that, I have a good sense of what to do. Now, having said all of that, it's your judgment, and I'll promise you, the first time you do this, you're going to have to study it out a little bit. But after you do this the first time, you will have a second sense of what to do as you move forward with doing this procedure. And again, it is important because we're trying to discern who is going to stay in the class, and it's very, very important. All right, let me pause right here and see if there are any questions or comments.
If we're on the phone call,
go right ahead.
Ask a question? Oh, thank you, Bob. This is David Hare. My question is, if we mark the students absent, that triggers an official withdrawal of that student from our end?
Yes, that will lead to a withdrawing of the student, and the student will get a message saying you have been withdrawn from the course. And what's going to happen is that student is going to do one or two things. They're going to say, well, I should have really been involved. I didn't read those 5 emails about that mandatory attendance. I better do better next time. And then you may have one or two that they just kind of get upset, and they wake up and they say, hey, I need to do something. What I would do is you made that decision. They did that, and they get the mail, and they decide. And then if someone, they could make a request to be reinstated. I'll talk about that in just a moment. And that is between you and them. But I do believe that if you do a good job this first time, you'll have a good sense of what to do if there's a student that, says, well, I was withdrawn, and I want to get back into the class. Does that answer your question?
It does. Can I ask one follow-up question? Okay. Related, so I only have one student in my course that hasn't logged in at all. I know we are supposed to email students before the semester begins, but the emails that I have for the students are the internal emails through GoView. So I haven't really had a way to contact this student that hasn't logged in at all, unless she's checked her GoView account, which she hasn't logged into. Am I wrong?
That's a very good question. And what I would do is, we could talk about this some more later, but I think just get the eCore help desk, and you can always call those folks to see if you can get some more information for that particular student. My advice is that over the next day or two, if you could contact that student, and let's say they apologize, they have some reason, and all of that, then you could adjust that before Tuesday. But if you're not hearing from somebody, that would be an indication to me they are not interested in pursuing this and taking this responsibility on. And I would, that's my opinion, I would just leave that as absent. I hope that helps you out.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Bob. This is Ashley Reese with eCampus as well. And I just have a couple of comments to add as to how you answered the question and hopefully provide some more clarity. So 2 things. First is the students who are marked absent may be dropped or withdrawn, just depending on the institution. Most of our institutions do drop the student, meaning that class will no longer show on their transcript, versus withdrawing the student where they receive a grade of W. So it really can depend on the institution on how exactly that shows on their transcript in the future. That being said, with your question about if they never logged in and you don't have a contact information for those students, any student who has not logged in by day 3 of the class, we call those students based off of information that we have from the institutions and from their introduction quiz, which is a prerequisite for the course. So they do get a phone call from us as well as emails to their external campus email account. And then on day 5, if they did not meet that deadline, we contact those students who were marked absent or who did not meet the deadline and are at an institution that withdraws. So those students that might potentially receive a grade of W, those get a second attempt for us to contact them and get them participating or get them to drop the course before the drop deadline, those sorts of things. So while I know that you guys would definitely like to contact them, and of course, as Bob recommended, if you want to reach out to us, we can provide some contact information, but we do try to contact those students as well if they haven't logged in.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. That was good, and that's
Great.
that did help. eCampus does a good amount to help support you in that particular role. And that's great because we're all about the student getting started. So thank you. All right, let's go on to the next slide. When we are done reporting all of our present and absences, we're good to go. Now you have 2 choices. You could, on the lower right-hand side of your Ingress console, you have Submit and Save for Later. Of course, if you hit Cancel, it just brings you back to the beginning screen. So Save for Later would be, let's just say we're talking about David and his Spanish. And he's got this one student he's kind of borderline on. But he would like to get this job 95% done to feel better about getting this important task done. So what he's going to do, he's going to make his selections and hit Save for Later. Save for Later. And then what he's going to do on Saturday or Sunday, he's going to be thinking about it. Monday, he tried to reach out to the student. And really his intuition, his judgment is, I really think I just need to report the student as non-attending. So he goes back into Ingress and he's going to say absent for that student, and he's going to hit Submit. And when you hit Submit, that's your major job, is to make sure you hit that button. And when you hit that button, you will see one of 2 things. So if I did not do it right, if I did not select something for one of my students, notice we got this gentleman, this person right here, and it says Select. So basically, Ingress is saying you did not make a decision for all your students. You may have overlooked that. So fine. You'll see a little warning there. And those of us at institutions that have the register really on the ball, you know, we've been through that a few times. So, all right, so you make your decision on that person and you hit Submit. That's what we need to get from that screen. And then you see a screen that has a big gold lock in a gold circle. And so when you see that screen, that means that you're locked your decision and you're good to go. Your job with this particular task is completed. So if you don't see a lock, there's a problem. So no lock, no luck, okay? So make sure you find that lock. And that is really all you need to know about the attendance verification in your final decision. You can go back into your Ingress and see your roster. You could also see a little column there that indicates what you decided regarding present and absent. All right. Now, after you do that, like I said in the previous question, you may have. I've only had this happen 1 or 2 times. Actually, I had this happen 2 times, but I only really allowed it 1 time. And again, if you kind of get a sense of your students, you'll know, okay? And so a student may contact you and say, I would like to be reinstated. My personal policy is I have a set of couple just easy questions that I ask my student about their commitment to the class, and then I make my final decision on that. If you are going to reinstate a student, you'll just have to go through the seeds and do a reinstatement and start that process. And that doesn't take that long, and the student will show up again in your class list. Let me see if I got another slide here. Oh, we're at the end. So we would like you to contact us about this attendance verification. It is important. And Jody and I can be found at this eCoreCI email. And please feel free to contact us. Even if you feel you're not sure, contact us. We'd rather you have accurate information than you be wondering something about this particular procedure. So we are here to help you succeed and do well with this task, along with all the other things that we plan to do. All right, let's pause here and see if there are any. Well, before we do this, you may have some questions. So let me just mention some things at the end of this presentation. First, some of you may have a slight difficulty in navigating the Blackboard Collaborate here, and I got good news. We are transitioning to a better version of Blackboard Collaborate. It is called Ultra, and we will begin using that in short session 2. And hopefully, if you work with your students in Blackboard, that'll be a better experience as well. Also, on behalf of Jody and I and others on the team, we are honored to serve the faculty and assisting them to be successful in working with their students. And lastly, this particular session is recorded, and we will have a link. Now, this process of recording it and then having it deposited somewhere and obtaining that link sometimes takes a little time, but we're going to send that link out in the email out to our faculty, and probably do it Saturday so you could go over this again if you need to. And when we send that link out, we will also send the PowerPoint presentation out in case you want to see that as well. Okay, so we got through that. What questions or comments do you have regarding attendance verification?